back with another anniversary profile on this anniversary tour. This time we got Kefla, a lot of profiles for a specific way to play it. It's already on the tubes. Also, I got like 4 different versions of this already uploaded. Just want to try this one, but this is a perfect 50, and I wanted to make super consistent and flow with the concept I wanted to do, which is basically controlling my opponent's tempo. And I feel like most Kefla decks should already have that game plan in their repertoire. Anyway, depending on the matchup. Alright, without further ado, let's get into this. Alright. For the majority of the game, you're going to spend time on the front side. I would say till about turn 3, turn 4-ish, maybe even longer depending on the game. But for most instances, like turn 3, turn 4 is like a safe spot to flip. You might have to flip early against the aggressive decks because they might force you to. But all that said aside, this gives you a lot of advantage. And with our particular list, we want to maximize advantage. But if you know, she did already. She played a Universe 6 on this side for 2 or less, or that's 2 or less to the field for 0 energy, just out your hand. Surge Awaken, place a blue and a yellow up underneath her, flip over, draw 4. Feel like you go the mindless when you draw 4. Backside, you have to get rid of her card you put up under her just to use her effects, and she has to be like under 4, I believe. Yeah, 4 or less. If she would have made like the Surge Goku and using that 5 or 6, this leader would have been some gas. But all in all, let's get into that. Second effect, you want to use that sparingly, but I might pop around and just use the bottom deck for real, to be honest. Alright, let's get on with the ratios, and we got a lot of things to explain at the end. The obligatories 4 of SS2 Kefla Friendship. Really strong, and kind of your initial starting when you start your mid-range type of action. Same with this, these are the anniversary box induced promos, and then we are going back to the classic starter deck cards, which is the Kaba. I'm only running 2 of, because 2 is all you need and you can recycle it. And in my list, I tend to use the full effect, but he grabs U6. Same with the promo. This is like another important one, because like there'll be some matches that don't want you to get the value of your awaken, so they'll keep you at high life, so you can't use your Surge Leader's backside. And that's why these are very important, as well as other cards that take your own life, so you can get there and just start maximizing your backside. Then we run only 3 kills. 3 is enough. The deck is consistent enough to see it by turn 2 almost every game. Then to end my 444 package, we taking a singular kill just to recycle. And for my last of my lower 2 drops that I might play is this, because this opens the doorway to the strongest U6 card, or the second strongest U6 card in the game, in my opinion. But she helps out a lot. Draw advantage, switch something to rest mode. And the card I was alluding that she set up is Meteoric Kefla. I was thinking about running too, but I searched so much, it'll just float to the hand off the many searches. Then since I'm not running too, I'm gonna try to run with the Z extra card when we get to it. Wants us to play. This is like maybe a late game play. I got a rant on this card later, and people didn't want U6 to be too strong. Let me get that. Hit in cold blood. So they murdered the combo in cold blood. No other good justification. Just the starter deck U6 interaction was too strong. And our secret rare, Porter Vegeta. We can get out early because we rest a lot. Super combos. We build up our drop pretty easily, so we running the Sparking, so I can use it as early as I want to. Mostly like turn 2 and 4 if I set up my drop rate. Then when we get there, and also to filter for push turns. Other combo interactions just to help us control the opponent. And you can bump this next card up if you want. This is the controversial part of the video. Only 1D Magic. And 1 Sensu Bean. Partly because I only got one of these in the foily, but my main objective is to control my opponent using minimal resources. And if you notice, I'll be doing that a lot. Running a classic Planet Sodala has a few different effects that also, how should I say, mimics your leader, as well as get value when it's sent to the drop by other effects, or just playing another Sodala. Or this next card, Planet Vegeta. This used to be like the classic combo to set off your Sodala's second effect after you resolve the first one on the follow, and by playing this on the following turn. You wouldn't want to do all that in one turn. Then we got a classic strategy that I'm surprised didn't float back into this style of deck of how you want to play it. Universe 9 is symbol. The bee's knees around the golden era of the game. If my opponent is tapped out, which we can easily do, tap our opponent out, we get to +1 with a U2 card, Universe 9 card, or depending on the matchup, I might go +2. The +1 card that you played just to get your value is Chachapo, Iron Drake. This card sets a parameter that in order to attack, your opponent has to rest the energy, or once per turn when they attack. And the +2 if I want to go there and get that much value. We got this one, classic draft box card, Basil the Fatal Rampage. This draws 1 on play, and if my opponent has 5 more cards in rest mode, which after turn 3 or by turn 3 or after, they will. I get dual attack and +14, making it a 19k dual attack. Pretty for advantage. I wanted to make like a 8-card package of advantage to set up that Kefla 7 play. Cause you gotta go super nag to set that up. That's why I was kind of on that card. But we'll get to that at the end of the video. Then we got 2 draw apes, cause once you get to the backside, you don't draw, and you gotta find ways to accrue advantage. And that's my 8-card plus advantage to balance that out, just to fix that fatal flaw in the deck. Then we got Tech Koisekai, got your pitch stuff. Then we got some power 1-ohs. That's non-negotiable. Putin, I don't have to be mono yellow for that. Vegeta, Power Conviction. Our overrun of choice is still the best overrun in the game, but everybody likes to run Vegeta. Another draft box card, Chill the Cruel. Not a fan of the sparkles, but this can be an extra push in the closed out turns. Say if you swing with your secret rare, they like spark in the gate or whatever, and they go down to 2 life instead of the 3 that they was at. You have this as a swing. And then for our last few cards, we have our proving ground potentials that might go up later or down. Bardock. This is in here just as a basic negate, but it also doubles as another material for Surge Awakening that I don't have to use my hand for, so value. Then we got the Repulsed. More than likely, most people will probably bump this up because it flows into the strategy of controlling the temple, and how yellow generally controls the temple is by making you rest stuff to do stuff. And Repulse fits that quite well. And our other turn ender that nobody gives the respect it deserves, the Black Sheep, the unloved child of the SGRs. I love this card. You can make it these two more repulsive, but just for the synergy. But I like to explore my options on certain pivotal turns, and sometimes they just push through the repulsed anyway, because it gets weaker towards the end of the game. And my number one candidate that I made it a mission to bring back to U6 decks, and it kind of made sense because I'm trying to potentially lost words, put this mechanic back on the map, and this kind of puts a lot of your combos together on you or your opponent's turns mainly. But Aegis or Aegis explains what that is right there. You want to pause it, but this sets up massive value on your opponent's turn in ways you just gotta see. And like going first or second, if I can drop this early, it'll set the extreme tone of the game. Going on to Z deck, it's gonna be one of Frenzy. Hope to use this to its full potential at some point during the game. The SS Vegeta Impossible just help awaken. Slide Curve helps us extend plays as well as BMS removal. Other options just to push through floodgates or battle card Pacific floodgates. More Aegis, and it pays for itself. The unison we like to set up early, because generally how you want to play this deck is after the first 2 turns, you just disrupting your opponent in the best, most valuable ways you can. Then a high-end game finisher or setup card. In case I need to rest something with barrier, that's blocker. Synergizes with a card in my side deck, and cheaper than sell to board wipe if I set it up correctly. Then the most powerful blue but expensive cards in the Z deck, 18. And then we have the Deborah. Pretty strong, but I want to limit most of my Z deck to only costing 1 if I can help it. I think there's only 3 cards that cost 2 Z energy. This, and this. Alright, on to the side. I don't want this to be too hella long. 2 Transforming Frieza. 2 Gohan. Just more 2 energy removal. They gotta respect it. Vegeta. Just attack with my Z card and to slow the pace of the game down a turn. Gotta make them respecting all my yellow, because mainly you charging a multicolor first turn, then yellow the rest of the game. Attack against Unisons was at 2, but wanted to make this play more consistent for the matchups I needed, just to put them more on tilt. For this, we got a Frost Deadly Poison, because like Bear is not always safe, but certain times if they don't answer it the first turn, I'll follow up with this to have ready for their answer, so my barrier Aegis cards can stay on the field a little bit longer. Then we got Unison Help, Red Help, or Green Help, Red Help. 2 prospects, still one of the best blue floodgates in their repertoire, even though they say that there is no more good blue floodgates. But how do you make a blue floodgate better than prospect and not have it banned 2 weeks later? Riddle me that, Batman. Desperate Measures, recycle some pieces, and you can surprisingly set up the checkmate in this game with how easily we tap down our opponent's energy and force them to play the 1 energy out that could possibly save them. But that's the list for the most part. You pretty much controlling their game and just tapping them out on your and their opponent's turn, so your pressure is uninterrupted, not too much. I initially had, besides the 8 card draw and the proven potentials at the end, I was running the classic U6 package with that. Where I had all this neat to the side, that and that, because it makes the 7-drop Kefla 1 energy to bring up by just getting over those 2. So this will be like a follow-up play, but that is very space heavy but enjoyable. I might bounce back and forth to that, because ultimately I wanted to build the deck around this card and maybe pumping out 1 or 2 of these a game, maybe all in the same game. The only answers to setups like that are the SCRs, and I'll come ready with that. Also was debating these, but I can get to my Kefla fair enough. Also, if you want to not think about charges too much, I was considering that. And there's like a lot of cool interactions. This was my 51st card that I wanted to add to this. Let me just talk to you out a second while putting down cards, because there's a lot of different variations. I would say my control list is like maybe number 4, but if you want to go wild, you can go with a very packaged rival list for this, because I say the most pressful version was meant to arrive. because I know another criticism of the deck is like it has no pressure, but the pressure, you got to understand, the pressure with this deck is more strategic than in your face, and that's some complaints that they have to set it up. It's, I would say this deck rewards skillful play and skillful setups, but once you master it, you can get there, and it's very highly consistent, especially the closer you are to 50. Highly consistent. But this version, which I had before, that I had to narrow down because like it was like a 60 card deck, and I'm like, I was running like all of the works, even super sauce, because I can play these from the Gohan and still get value and still pressure, and like there was so much sauce just to like keep you just like too super super engaged and like so many developing play lines that you can like create like a bunch of different routes to victory on the spot, depending on how you set stuff up. I was thinking about that, but the other variant that kind of teetered on that, besides running like the fusions and like I had the other promos in here too, just to test it out, because my other version before this version was very heavily on the 1-drops and just setting up the arrivals and had like a bunch of 10Ks, but not comfortable playing a deck full of 10Ks in this day and age. But I had it on the backdrop of kind of having like a backup strategy for like the unisons, like the hit. I'm going to segue back to the hit because I got a rant on that a bit. Bandai just ruined it because of power level, but these are also good value. People are sleeping on this card because there's like layers that you can do with that, but I'd be searching like the whole card pool when I'd be like crafting these deck ideas, and I'm like, at first my thing is, do they synergize and do they make sense? Because like that's the first thing that gets me. Do they make sense? I don't want to like throw cards in here for the sake of throwing cards in here and just cause they can. That's why I have certain cards that can be floated in and out, or my what I call the trial cards, to see how they can optimally work in here. If I can make them work without doing too much or going above and beyond. But going back to hit, they nerfed the strongest U6 combo in the game just for the fact that I think this spurred the conversation on Pacific costs in this game. Some of the judges can like that have been playing since the beginning or since the start that came out can follow up with that, because like this card used to be the bee's knees. I still have it in my deck, but the earliest I can drop this is turn 4, because how it used to work is I can play a bunch of blue and yellow U6, spam the board. This, due to its permanent, reduce down. I can reduce it down all the way to 2 or even 1 or even 3. But by turn 3 max consistency, you reduce it down to like 2, because it's still a 7, because you have like 4 or 5 U7 guys, and then you just, because you can spam that for next to nothing. And then you play this to play this out of hand, but they killed that interaction. They said, nah, you gotta pay the whole Pacific cost, or it's always has to be paid even in hand, even if I'm playing it by a skill. And I'm like, nah, they just did that to nerf that combo, but that's okay. We still want to take hits, because that's optimally probably can drop this as early as turn 3 if I have the energy marker, if the setup is correct. But yeah, that's my soapbox and that's my rant. They just didn't want U6 to be that good around set 7 to 9, because like I would say set 9, and a lot of people play, or you hear about the Go format, peak of deck building, creativity, and like we mashed a bunch of interesting color combinations and strategies together, and it made sense, and it got you W's. That's what made it a lot of enjoyable. But I know for sales and the business aspect of it, you want to make things less difficult and more accessible, especially for new players. So they made, and also the current bubble players, I'll have a rant on the bubble players later, wanted the archetypes to be stronger, because like just for other sake and reasons, because like it's easier to play a broken strategy than it is to play to intermediate strategy. And if they gave you all the cards out the box, and that's why the quality of our boxes and archetypes in the box been stronger, you can easily succeed and do well. And that in theory helps like new players want to keep playing and play the game and not have to go out and get all of the expensive staples just to play the game. You can just play it out the box, and that kind of has like a double-edged sword to it, because like the best players of the game, like, oh, you made this card like this Krillin is that broken and you just gave it to it, I can do A, B, and C. While the average or a new player just seeing just A, they gotta have like a balance on that. But that's my TED talk. I'm gonna keep bringing you. I got one more before I dive back into like a few other decks that I want to go to. Then I can get back to Anniversary Watch, because I think we hit Androids, this Kefla. I think next is going to be Surge Kugel. Then going to teeter off that. Then we're going to come back with Majin Vegeta or Mid-Jita, because that kind of burned out. But I'm really going to take that name to heart. And what else? Bardak's Crew. I want to put my foot in Bardak's Crew, because like that's the thing that everybody staying mum on. Besides a few players, but I'm gonna put my spin on it and see what it's meant to do. How can we optimize that? And then how can we take it to the next level or break it through the meta? I might have a series on that, just break through the meta. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.